Hello, welcome to this session on funding options for your agribusiness. I am Helen Emore, and I'm going to be sharing with you tips on how to get funding for your agribusiness. Where should you be looking at, what you should be looking at, and the things you should do. How do you fund your venture? This is one of the biggest challenges most people in the agribusiness space have. How do I fund my business? And that is why we're having this session. At the end of this session, you will have a better understanding of how to fund your business. What are the appropriate funding platforms for your business? You will know where to go for funding your business, and you will know what to prepare for your funding rounds. Now, the question is, where do you look for funds? To determine the kind of funding you need as an agribusiness entrepreneur, you need to consider, one, where in the value chain or ecosystem am I playing? What is the stage of my business? What does the future of my business look like? Who am I? Do you know who you are in this business? What is the future of your business? Because there are so many things that can happen. And there are so many things that people who fund businesses consider. So we are saying, what is the future of your business? What's the future of your company? Why did you even start the business? Where do you want to take it to? And as we go along, you'll know why it is important for you to know what the future of your business is. The first thing is, where in the agribusiness value chain are you playing? Is it in the production, where you're either planting crops or growing animals? Is it in inputs? Are you harvesting or providing transportation or logistics? Are you providing warehousing services? Are you a primary processor, or do you store? Are you into secondary processing, meaning when the crop or animal comes to you, do you turn it into a packaged good that can last longer? Are you into distribution, packaging, or handling? Or are you just into wholesale or retail trading? Where are you in the value chain? Now, do you know why it's important? Because each of the value chains require different types of funding at different times. So it is important for you to be able to situate yourself in the value chain. Question, where are you in the value chain? Do you know where you are? Activities outside of the value chain: finance, insurance, transport, funding, marketing, branding, security, research, development, teaching, training. There's so many other activities. So we are either in the mainstream or in the ecosystem. So where are you in the value chain? You need to know. Now, depending on where you play in the value chain, you would need a different kind of funding. Do you know that in the agribusiness sector, quite a number of people get funding, but it goes down the wrong way? Or sometimes we get this wrong kind of funding and then we begin to struggle. So it is important for you to know the kind of funding you need depending on the sector you are in, depending on the part of the value chain you are in. If you are in primary production, meaning you have a farm, maybe you have to acquire the farm, maybe you have to also prepare the land, you have to cultivate. There are so many things you have to do. Now, where are you in that? If you're in animal rearing, you have to either buy the eggs, you have to allow the animals to mate, or you have to buy the young ones. Where are you in the value chain? You need funds for different stages if you're in primary production. And you also know that it takes time. for you from the time you plant or the time an egg is fertilized to when it becomes a harvestable product. It could be anything from 12 weeks to 1 year, to 7 years, to 3 years, to 4 years, depending on the kind of crop you have. You need funds both for your short-term activities, that's what you need to do now, and for the things that you will do during the cultivation period, sometimes for as much as 7, 8 years, sometimes for as little as 12 weeks, sometimes for 2 years, you need funding. So you have to plan for it. So if you are in primary production, one thing is clear, you need long-term funds. You need what we call patient capital, capital that will wait for you, capital that will not rush you, capital that will not give you short, stringent conditions. Because you have to spend a lot of money before you start earning. You have to spend a lot of money. So you need to know, are you in production of inputs? Again, you need a mix of short and long-term funds. If you are into inputs, maybe seedlings, fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, nutrients, equipment, or infrastructure, you will need a mix of short and long-term funds because you need funds for operating in the immediate. You also need funds to pass on credits or structured payment terms to your customers. So you need to know what is the structure of your industry, the people you are selling to, or the people who are your customers. What kind of funding do they need? How do they pay you? What's the transaction cycle? Is it long or short? Or are you in harvesting or preservation? Here you will need a mix of short and medium-term funds. Because, once you buy the crops, you sell. Or once you buy the crops, you store for a while, then you sell. So you don't need money that will stay with you for 3 years. You just need a cycle, a constant pipeline of funds to buy and sell, buy and sell. Maybe you're outsourcing personnel or allied services that don't require 9 months, maybe 30 days transaction cycles, maybe 60 days. So when I say transaction cycle, I mean, how long does it take from when the customer starts talking to you about buying your product or your service till when you deliver the service and the customer pays you? So in this part of the value chain, you don't need long-term funds. It's usually anything between 30 days to 60 days, at most 90 days. So you need a mix of short and medium-term funds. Now, if you are in processing, this is where I play as Auntie Helen Foods. I know you need a mix of funds. So if you are going to set up maybe a granite processing factory or a corn processing factory, you first need to have a space. You buy equipment, you employ people, you buy raw materials, you pay your utility bills, your NEPA, your water, you pay for security, you pay for transport. All of those need different kinds of money. So if I were to do a quiz and I ask you that, if you want to either buy land or pay your rent and buy equipment, what kind of funding do you need? You got it. You need long-term capital. So that will come in the form of equity or a long-term debt, maybe a debt you have to pay in like 5 years or 3 years. Now, if you want to buy equipment, you need long-term funds too, because equipment take time to pay for themselves. Now, if you need to buy raw materials, packaging materials, and sell, you need short-term funds. So you need to know when, because when you produce and sell, you can be paid immediately. If you are maybe selling online, you are selling directly to the customers. They can pay you immediately. Or it could be 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, depending on the arrangement you have. I heard someone say it could be 6 months. It depends on who your customers are and how you engage them. So you have to be very careful. what you need funding for. So you don't take short-term funding to buy equipment, to buy a factory. You struggle to pay back because you may not generate all the money at once. So if you are in processing, you need long-term funds for capital expenditure. What is capital expenditure? Things like you're buying land or buying factory, or you are leasing a factory, you need long-term capital. Now, when it comes to buying equipment, you also need long-term capital because equipment can be very expensive. However, you also need money to buy raw materials and packaging materials. You need to prepare your factory for NAFDAC approval or SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria's approval. So you need to know the kind of funding you need. Long-term fund will be things like capital, equity, maybe from your partners, maybe from a venture capital, maybe from angel investors. Those are people who are going to stay with you for like 5 years. They will be patient. But you need short-term funds for operating expenses, for production, that you can borrow from a bank. But if you are just starting, it's best that you have it as capital. Now, if you are into trading, you need short to medium-term funds. Why? Because it's trading. The goods are there, you sell, and you get paid. Now, what you need to be mindful of is how long does it take for a transaction to be completed? Meaning from the moment your customer places an order to when you deliver and you are paid. You are right, it could be immediate, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 30 days, it could be 60 days, it could be 90 days. You need to know what you need funding for. Okay? Now, services. There are different services in the agribusiness ecosystem. You have medium to long-term funds. So it depends on the service you are rendering. Again, what drives the kind of funding you take for any of the value chain is what is the transaction cycle? If you don't remember anything from this section, remember transaction cycle. How long does it take from the moment you start to the moment you close? And closing the transaction does not end when you deliver. It ends when you get paid and the customer is satisfied. So it is important for you to know where you are playing in the value chain. It's also important for you to understand that wherever you are paying in the value chain determines the kind of funding you need. So that when you are requesting for funds, you can be talking to the right people. Some of us are in primary production and we want commercial banks to give us loans. We will struggle. So you have to be very careful, but we'll get there shortly. One thing is clear, whatever part of the value chain you are in, agribusiness requires patient capital, capital that will wait, capital that will wait for you to make progress, okay? Now, another thing we need to know is that the business life cycle influences the kind of funding we need. As human beings, we are born, we grow, we develop, we mature, and by God's grace, when we are old, we die. But with business, you can reinvent yourself. So the same way humans have babies, you grow to a child, a teenager, and an adult, that's the same way our businesses are. We have the early stage of the life cycle, which is introduction stage. You have your growth stage, you have the maturity stage, and you have the decline stage. What happens at the introduction stage? At this stage, you have just started the business. Maybe you've just planted, or you've just bought the factory, or you just leased the factory, or you have just started a service and you started talking to your customers. We all have different stages. So do you know the stage of the business that you are in. At the early stage, there's no revenue. You have just started. You are marketing, you are selling, you are constructing, you are planting, you are feeding your animals. So there's no income yet. At the growth stage, hey, business is starting to pick up. You're seeing others. You're seeing others. People know about you. All your efforts are paying off. And then at the maturity stage, you are strong. Like they say, you don't stand gidigba. Here, you have constant revenue. You know who is coming to buy. You can predict, you can plan your strategy. You can do so many things because at this stage of the business, you are stable. Things are happening. Income is regular. You can predict, you can forecast. You have good credit pipelines. You have good suppliers. You have good customers. You have other support system. At this stage is where you reinvent yourself so that you don't die. If you don't reinvent yourself, if you're not working on research, if you're not taking customer feedback, if you're not innovating, you will enter the decline stage. So the goal for every business owner is that you can extend the life cycle of your business. You can extend the life cycle of your business. And how do you extend? It's through innovation. It's through understanding your customers. It's through knowing what the customer wants. So every stage of the business requires a different kind of funding. Every stage requires a different kind of funding. So I will start. It's always very exciting. You have an idea you want to go, you go to your savings, you talk to family, you talk to friends, people who know you, you put your own money. They call it bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is when you use your own money, maybe your savings, maybe you sell your car, you sell a land, you sell something to start your business. You use your money to test the idea. Part of the challenges we have is people want to use other people's money to test the idea. No, any serious investor wants to see what you have put in the business. So what have you put in the business? How much have you put in the business? How much do you have? If you say you want to start a business, what do you have in it? So we want to see that you have put part of your own money inside this business. You get funding and support from your family, your friends. Some of your customers may say, okay, I'll buy, take my deposit. I've seen the sample, I like it, take money up front. Some of your suppliers may say, I believe in you, I know you. Okay, take this in 30 days and come and pay. Take these seeds, take this packaging material, come and pay in 30 days. That is how you fund the business. In the early stages, you are funded by your family and your friends, the people that know you. I used to tell my staff that, look, I will give business to my friends because it is my business, my friends that are giving me business. And I hope you do the same too. And more importantly, always do what you say you will do so that they can keep trusting you, okay? Also at the early stage, you need partners. We have to have partners. If you keep trying to do business on your own, you will struggle. So have partners that help you go further. You cannot fund your business with a loan at startup. So don't go to a bank and say, oh, I have this idea, I want to do this. It will take a long time. And guess what? Ultimately, you will struggle. And if you're not careful, the business will fail. Why? Because you have no cash flow. You will default. You'll be under pressure. You can kill the business. So please, I beg you, look for partners. Stop trying to start a business alone. Okay? Now, the growth stage. Here, you have begun to develop muscles. You have started selling, or you want to go further. You have proved your concepts. You have shown that, hey, maybe you had one farming cycle. Maybe you have produced one batch. Maybe you have produced you've delivered one set of goods based on what you bought. Now you need to grow. You have evidence to show that you are selling. Now you need to talk to angel investors. You can speak to private equity firms who are interested in supporting startups. Here is also where it is good to speak with development finance institutions who want to fund businesses that have viable cash flow, who are government-backed or private backed, not NGO backed, non-governmental organizations. So you need to know. They will require detailed information about you. They want to know who you are. They want to see your business. They want to see your financial reports. Sometimes they'll ask for a business plan. So you need to know who to speak with when your business is growing. Here, you can now start talking to institutions. And this is where you begin to see that it is important to keep records. How much do you spend? What does it cost you to produce? What can you adjust? If you get the money or the funding, what will it change? How will it impact your business? Here you can get private equity investors. They could be individuals within your network. It's still, again, family and friends. But this time they want documents, they want evidence, because they'll be giving you substantial investments. You can also speak to institutions, angel investors, private equity firms, or even crowdfunding platforms, which is now regulated anyway. So you need to know who you should be speaking with. Platform Capital, Rising Tide, there are different institutions, a lot of them out there. I just thought I should mention a few, including Sentia Partners facilitates access to capital, and of course, a lot of other institutions, including Feed Up Africa. Again, from growth stage, you can speak to grants awarding institutions. What are grants? They are funding that you don't pay back. They are meant to encourage development of different sectors. So this can come from development institutions. They support different parts of agribusiness. Usually they will call for applications based on specific requirements. And there are quite a number of such institutions in Nigeria and Africa. There's GIZ, the German corporation. There's SEED, which is the SEED Netherlands, which is sponsored by the government of Netherlands. There's a Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. There's a USAID for the American people. You have NERSAL, which is the Nigerian Risk Securities. I'll get the details later, I'm sorry. You have NERSAL, right? And then you also have the Central Bank of Nigeria. Maturity. Here, when a business is matured and needs to expand or diversify, it may require a significant capital injection. Now, the business has stable and profitable cash flow and is in a position to repay loans or any kind of funding. It may also have acquired assets that can serve as collateral. This can be funded through mergers or strategic alliances. You can partner with other people. So say, for instance, you are in the maize value chain. You can partner with somebody who processes maize and get them to give you some funding. Buy your maize upfront so that you deliver to them. You can also get from banks. Now you have a track record. So you can get medium-term capital for your operations. You can also lease equipment instead of buying them in bulk. That way you can pay over a period. And you can look for private equity for long-term capital projects. Maybe you want to expand your farm, you need to buy tractors, or you want to expand your factory, you need to buy equipment. You need to move to a bigger space. You have cash that can fund the capital now. So if you have evidence to show that whoever gives you money will get their money back. So when you are matured, it's a good time to get capital for expansion. Now, what do you do? How do you go about raising funds? Number one, you can acquire strategic partners. Sometimes we always think of loan. No, you can actually partner with other people. who will provide funding or equipment or seed or even land or tractors or people, so that when your harvest comes or when your production comes, you sell, you can pay them back. However, before people get into strategic partnership with you, they want detailed information about your business. This will include your financial reports, which is why you must keep reports, your business plan, and your projected financial returns. Do you remember when I talked about what is the future of your business? This is where the future of your business becomes important. What is the future of your business? What's your business plan going to say? Is the business going to be available? Is it going to be alive? Is it going to be profitable? Or is it going to struggle? What is the track record of the promoters, you, the management? Because at the end of the day, it is the management people are giving money. They don't give land, they don't give equipment. It is people who manage it. So they want to see the track record of the promoters. Do you have evidence of off-takers? Whether you are in whatever part of the value chain you are in, who is going to pay you for the services or products? And you should know that the 5 C's of credit are important. And what are the options available to you? Let me talk a bit about the 5 C's of credit. The 5 C's of credit are character, capacity, collateral, capital, conditions. Number 1, what is the character of the promoter? Do you have a good credit history? Are you a person of integrity? What's your capacity? Can you pay? Can you pay the loan? I've seen people who take loans and they don't pay. I've seen people who say something and they don't do it. So your character counts. Do you have collateral? Because most formal institutions require collateral. Do you have any savings or assets that can be collected in case you are unable to pay? What are the conditions? How do you intend to use the money? What are the conditions that they are giving to you? So there are 5 things, 5 C's of credit: character, capacity, collateral, capital, condition. Let me tell you, one critical success factor is character. If you are a person of unstable or questionable character, the rest does not matter. So your character counts. Other things to note in fundraising is that each type of funding has different structures and requirements. There are different structures, different requirements. 1, the tenure of the funds. How long will you have the funds? Do you remember when I kept saying short, medium, and long? Short term could be 30 days, it could be 90 days. It could be 180 days, it could be 12 months. We begin to talk about medium when it gets to 2 years, 3 years. Long starts talking about 5 years to 10 years. So do you know what kind of fund you should be getting and how long it should take? How are you going to use it? What are the utilization options? Is it working capital or a term loan? What do you want? Do you want to be paying instrumentally or do you want to pay periodically? What is the interest rate? Do you want a fixed interest rate or a floating interest rate? So you need to know, ask questions, get a financial advisor. What are the fees associated with taking the loan? What kind of security, what kind of collateral do they want? The truth is, most financial institutions are not interested in the collateral. They really want you to be able to pay. However, some institutions will ask you for a collateral. Some may ask you that, you know what, we'll give you the money, but we'll have somebody inside working with you as part of management. So you need to know what kind of things, what kind of conditions, what kind of terms are involved. Now, there are different kinds of financing. There are also formal sector financings, which are commercial banks, microfinance banks, development financial institutions, venture capitalists. I've talked about some of them. So you need to know that there are a lot of formal sector fundings apart from family and friends. So these are the ones available to you. The government also has different institutions that fund agribusiness in Nigeria. Development Bank of Nigeria, Infra Credit, Bank of Agriculture, Nexim funds exports, SMIDAN provides access to funds for small businesses, and NERSAL MFB also provides credit guarantees for farmers and people in the agribusiness value chain. So the government has different agencies for funding. The important thing is go and find out what each of them is doing. But before you go to them, make sure you already have a business running. They will not fund your idea. You have to fund your idea with your friends and family. One of the things I've noticed that most SMEs or small farmers are doing is you want a structured institution to fund your unstructured business. No, you can only go to those structured institutions when your business is formed. So please be mindful of that. And to raise funds, you need to prepare your business plan. What's the future of your business? Or in some cases, a pitch deck. You need to be prepared for it. So what is a business plan? It is a story of where your company is going, how it will get there, and what it looks like once it arrives. A business plan shows that you understand your business. It shows that your business exists. It shows your financial history and your projections. It shows how you will use the funds. It shows what will happen to your business when that fund enters the business. It shows how your business will grow when the fund comes in. It has to be optimistic. A business plan has to show that your business is indeed viable and will grow when the funding comes. So what do you consider when you are writing a business plan? What do you consider? One, who are you writing for? Is it a bank? Is it potential investors? Or are you writing for a grant? So whoever you are writing for determines what you write. So when you are writing for a bank or potential investors, you have to highlight the feasibility of the new venture. How much do you need at each stage? What is your cash flow statement? What's the profit and loss? What's the balance sheet? What's the marketing? There are so many things involved, and I will show you as we go along. What's involved in your business plan? It starts with the executive summary. We talk about the company, again, the owner and the board and management. What are your products? What are your services? Do you understand the market? What's your marketing plan? What's your financial plan? What other evidence do you have to support everything you have said? So it is a serious business, very, very serious. In wrapping up, I want to say you have to have your goals and your plans equal success. None of us plans to fail, really, but we fail because we have no plan. So if you want funding, you need to have a plan for it. You need to understand the options available to you. You need to understand what kind of funding you need in each part of the value chain of agribusiness. You also need to understand what kind of funding you need in each life cycle of your business. I always tell people you will always need capital as a business owner. So is the capital that you are sourcing appropriate for your kind of business? Is it appropriate for the stage in the life cycle of your business? If not, you start, you stop. You start, you stop. I've done that a couple of times, and I've seen people do it. When you really succeed is when you understand your business and you understand the life cycle and you understand the transaction cycle. You know the kind of funding you need. If you don't, the business will always struggle and fail. So it's important that you plan for the funding of your business. Thank you, and I wish you all the best in all your endeavors. Thank you so very much to everyone who has been here today.